I met an old man who had over $10 million, but he begged me never to repeat the biggest mistake of his life. His name was Walter. He lived alone in a small house at the end of a quiet street. No fancy car, no new furniture, just an old chair by the window where he sat every evening staring at a yellow envelope on the table. He never opened it. He never threw it away. The neighbors called him the miser. They said he had millions, but wouldn't even fix his broken fence. Kids whispered that he buried his money in the backyard. Nobody knew the truth. Nobody knew why a man with that much wealth lived like he had nothing. I only found out because of his granddaughter, Mia. Mia was 19. She wanted to study design in another city, but her family couldn't afford it. One afternoon, she knocked on Walter's door, hands shaking, and asked for help. He looked at her for a long time. Then he said something strange. "I'll help you. But first, let me tell you why I never touched this money." That was the day the story began to unfold. 40 years ago, Walter wasn't rich. He was a mechanic, working 12-hour shifts, saving every spare dollar in a tin box under his bed. He wasn't chasing wealth. He was chasing safety. He never wanted his children to feel the fear he grew up with, the fear of not having enough. Then one day, his best friend, a man named Roland, came to him with an idea. A small investment. Real estate, back when land in their town was cheap. Roland begged him to join. Walter said no. Too risky. He kept saving instead, dollar by dollar, in that same tin box. 10 years later, Roland was a millionaire. Walter was still a mechanic. That was the first wound, but it wasn't the one that changed him. The second one came when Walter finally decided to invest, not in land, but in his brother-in-law's business. A restaurant. He trusted family. He didn't ask questions. He didn't read the numbers. He just handed over his savings, all of it, because family was supposed to be safe. 18 months later, the restaurant collapsed. His brother-in-law disappeared with what was left. Walter lost everything he had built in 15 years of 12-hour shifts. He told Mia, "That was the night I learned money doesn't care how much you trust someone. It only cares whether you understood what you were doing." But here's what nobody expected. Walter didn't quit. He didn't get angry and stop trying. He got quiet instead. He started reading, really reading, about how money grows, how compound interest works, how the richest people in his town weren't the ones who earned the most, but the ones who understood patience. He started small again. This time, he didn't chase excitement. He didn't chase his friend's success or his brother-in-law's promises. He picked boring, steady investments. Index funds, a rental property he personally inspected himself, room by room, before buying. He lived far below what he could afford, even after the money started growing, because he never wanted to feel that fear again. 20 years passed. The tin box became a portfolio. The portfolio became more than $10 million. And the yellow envelope? Mia finally asked about it. Walter opened it in front of her. Inside was a single, old photograph. Roland, standing in front of the land he'd bought decades ago, and a short letter Roland had written him right before he passed away, years ago. The letter said he'd always admired Walter, because even though Roland made money faster, Walter never lost sleep worrying about losing it. Walter kept that envelope closed for years, not out of bitterness, but because opening it meant remembering how close he'd come to giving up. He handed Mia a check for her tuition that day, not because he wanted to spoil her, because he wanted her to have a chance to build something without paying the price he paid to learn it. Here's what Walter's life actually teaches us. Getting rich fast isn't the goal. Understanding what you're doing with your money is the goal. He lost money twice, once by being too afraid to take a smart risk, and once by taking a risk blindly without understanding it. The lesson wasn't never invest or never trust people. The lesson was know exactly what you're putting your money into and never let fear or trust replace real understanding. Slow, boring, informed decisions built more wealth than any shortcut ever could. If this story changed the way you think about money, subscribe to Mystery of Money. Sometimes the most expensive lessons in life are the ones we never see coming.